So there's a quick guide on how to use PrusaSlicer. Once you've installed it, go ahead and open it up. Once you open it, make sure you switch from this simple mode. Make sure that you're in the advanced mode. You'll know you're in advanced mode if you have this window down here with name and editing opening it up. I see on the screen the main window over here on the left that shows me my printer build plate. This is a digital representation of what the build plate looks like and how large objects will be on that build plate. If I want to move the build plate around and rotate it to look at my objects that I'm printing, I can hold down the left mouse button and move left and right to rotate and move up and down to kind of tilt it up and down. If I want to pan the screen around, I can hold down the right mouse button and I can drag left and right or up and down. And if I want to zoom in and out, I can use the scroll wheel on my mouse or two-finger touchpad to drag forwards and backwards to scroll in and out. Print settings that you want to use in general, these will pretty much work for almost anything that you're going to print in the lab. You want to set 0.2 millimeter speed profile. That works great. You want filament of PrusaSlicer PLA, and you want to set your printer to the printer that you're going to use. In our labs, the orange printers are the Mark IIIs. The gold printer is the Mark IIIS Plus, and the mini printer is the Prusa Mini, and you will see that the Prusa Mini build plate size will change. Let's go ahead and slice something for the gold printer, so that would be the Mark IIIS Plus. Infill. You want to set infill, go ahead and set that to 20%, and we will show you what to do with supports if you need supports. To add a piece to the printer, click this plus button box up there, and what you want to do to print something is you want to find your STL that you want to print and select it. I'm going to select this snaphinge.stl file, and this is my print. If it appears in green, that means it's actually printable and all is on the build plate. If you had something that was blue, that would mean some of it was off the build plate and would shoot this error to you. To arrange it so that it will fit and let the software decide how to do that, come up here to the Arrange button up at the top of the screen and click Arrange. Once I actually want to click this and be able to print it, I need to slice it up into layers, because a printer, a 3D printer, will build up your object by printing one layer on top of another on top of another. So if I come down here to the bottom right and click Slice Now, that's going to slice this and take me to a preview window. The preview window I can get access to at any point on the bottom left of this screen. I can click on the big square, and that will give me the editor view, which is how I load objects to print. And then if I want to get back to that preview button, I can click this kind of layered view and have the preview. To actually see the individual layers, I come up to the upper right and I have this orange arrow. I can drag this arrow down and this will show me a layer by layer view of my 3D print. I can see it's not completely solid. There is some infill in here. It is doing a grid, so it's only filling in 20% of this. And that's typically strong enough for anything that you're printing in our lab. And we can scroll all the way down to the bottom. And we can change all sorts of settings inside of this to make this work better or worse. But this is pretty good. All these settings that we have. So there's my print. I can 3D print this now, and I can go to export G-code. I would export this to my SD card, and then I would load it onto my printer. Now, what happens and how do I know if something won't be printable and if I need to use this supports feature? Let's go over to the 3D editor view. I'm going to delete this object off of my build plate, so I can do that by doing this delete all button. And I'm going to add an object onto this that does actually need supports. So let's go ahead and load a fingertip. So I see this fingertip, and if I think about this before I even slice it, I'm going to use this left mouse button. I'm going to kind of tilt the screen and going to kind of roll around so I'm looking at it from the side. I'm going to zoom in, and if I look at this, without even slicing it, I can see, once I get up to this part, and if I try to 3D print this, it's going to be 3D printing things on thin air. There's nothing underneath here to support this. So this is going to fail. And the printer software is actually pretty nice. So when I slice this, it'll actually tell me, it'll warn me, it'll detect a print stability issue, it'll give you more information, tell you low bed adhesion and loose extrusions, and tell you that I should consider enabling supports and consider enabling a brim. So what that means, it's finding that I need supports in this area. I'm having to print what's called an overhang. So if you see blue, this blue color here is an overhang, and it means it's not going to print very well. The other thing, low bed adhesion, loose extrusions. If I actually take this and use this orange arrow and I kind of drag this down to the bottom, I can see the print. Oh, looks fine, looks fine. Then I get to the very, very bottom, and I see it prints this tiny, tiny little piece on the bottom, and then on top of that, it's going to try to print in thin air. That's a problem. Anytime you're 3D printing something, it's very, very important that you have a good first layer, a strong base of support on which to build everything else, all your subsequent layers. So to make this work nicely for us, we could redesign the print, or we can come over here to supports. So I'm going to come over to supports and show you some settings to change on your supports that kind of work pretty much in general for almost anything you're going to print. Come over to supports, and we're going to do support on build plate only. And I'm going to come up here to the upper left. I'm going to go to the print settings. I'm going to go down to support material. I'm going to change this style to organic. And I'm going to change the top contact Z distance. I'm going to click on this, and then I'm going to have to type in 0.35 and just hit the enter key, and that will save it in there for you. So now you're all set to print something with supports. You'll notice that the print seems to have disappeared. That's because I changed the settings. So what I want to do now is I want to slice, and we'll see it will pop back up. So there's my print. I can see it in the printer window, and I can see it in that kind of layer view, and I can see this new stuff. This new stuff is support, and this kind of takes care of making a nice brim for you as well, so that you have a good contact, a good base of support. And as I scroll down, we can see there's my print. My supports are just thin little extrusions that kind of add a scaffold for this to print on top of. And it doesn't add that much time, and with these settings, these supports will actually just peel off like butter. Very, very nice. So this, I can export this G-code, I can save this, and then I can go over to my printer and print. And there are the minimum kind of settings that you need to know to use our Prusa printers.